Thankfully, this strain is not as vicious as the Delta strain. Right now, it is an Omicron and it's a B4 or B5 strain. So, thankfully, we are not filled through the second wave, that is the Delta strain. Our ICUs were full and there was such a demand for beds. So, as Pastor introduced, I'm an intensive care physician. We take care of the sickest of the sick who needs very constant monitoring and constant interventions. And it's amazing sometimes how rewarding it is when we are very alert and pick up at the earliest stage and try to intervene. It's a constant thing. It's not that we see a patient for 5-10 minutes and then we move off. It's not like that. We continuously keep on moving around, doing rounds, and constantly watch out for the earliest features. Already they are sick, and then it's a process because people think that sickness is static. It is not, it's a process. Because one frequent question we normally face from the families is, we brought him well, or he was not as sick. But after coming to the hospital, sometimes they become more sick because it's gained momentum. You bring at point A, but then the patient is moving towards point B, point C. It's a process. We try to intervene, but there is a process set in. So that's a bit briefly about my work profile, because it's amazing and sometimes it is really wonderful how patients recover, and sometimes it is it's mind-boggling and beyond us also. Incidentally, actually, I should apologize for not bringing the hard copy of the Bible. I in the cell phone, and when he told me to open the Bible, it's so nice to see today's verse popped up. I don't believe in that magic kind of popping up verses, but God uses every opportunity. It is holy, His holy word, and He uses every opportunity to communicate with us. I particularly like one small poster where a small child is looking up at the heavens and says, I know it's you, Lord. Means it's like playing a hide and seek. Many times we picturize God as very sober, very like this. It's not that. God is a joyful God and immensely loving us, and He's pleasant. We think He's a non-smiling and strict, or we go to the other extreme of He's benevolent and whatever you do, He will just not care about it. It's not that. He loves us and He's constantly in touch with us, whether we are perceiving or not. So that poster made a connect with me, because the child is able to connect everything that is happening. I know it's you. So that is the relationship God is looking for. Whether we are into it or not, that is His part. So when I saw this verse, it again seemed His communication in some way or other. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? See, do you not know means it's understood that you should already be knowing. Don't you know? It's common knowledge. Whether we all perceive ourselves as so precious, I'm not sure. We need to again relook at our own orientation towards ourselves, because He places a very high onus on us. So do you not know that you are the temple of God? All of us have gone through the Old Testament and we know that what specifics He gives when it comes to building the temple. That is made of brick and stone and mortar and velvet and screens and all that. For that, for those inanimate things, He's giving so much specifics. Then a living body, a living cell, which is exquisitely made, how much onus He will place. So we are extremely wonderfully made. And so, do you not know that you are the temple of God? He has graced us with His presence, the mighty God. Many times I am also guilty of not realizing the magnitude of this, that He's there in us, and that we need to value ourselves and love ourselves, because the Most High God has placed so much value on me that He has agreed to come and dwell inside, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you. He's a ready reckoner. What is our ready reckoner currently? Where you go to? Phone. In phone, what? Yeah. So they have become the ready reckoners. But far more precious, the Creator is there as a ready reckoner. So, briefly, I want to give some facts. This is going to be partially informative and also on how this information going to influence our emotions, thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, and values. Behold, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. How wonderful. Do we know any bit of wonder in you that you can perceive? I would like to hear from you. Yeah. Yes. Voice. The way each one's voice box is made is very different. It is the same. There are two vocal cords. There is the trachea, the air passes. It is like a whistle. And there are subtle differences where two voices are not the same. There may be mimics, but it is not the same. You take anything, it is exquisite and we cannot replicate. The skin. Skin is the major organ of the body which gives protection to us. It's a protection. Uh, the gut, our inner lining of the gut and the lung, everything is in constant protection mode. Then the hairs inside the nose, they act as a filter. And the kidneys, they flush out the toxins continuously. And whatever you put in inside your stomach, whatever junk, whatever, some people are even eating blades, and we hear that, isn't it? We do nothing different. It's in a different form only. Somebody is using a metal and somebody is using a organic substance. That's all. So whatever you put, still the body gears up to it, isn't it? At work, if somebody is loading you with two people's work, what do? Get 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 angry. Yes. Then what do? Huh? Talk to the manager. You won't take it lying down, isn't it? How many of us are guilty of eating two people's food? There is a free biryani. How is our plate filled? You go for a buffet, isn't it? Aren't we all guilty of eating two people's food, three people's food? You know how many calories a biryani contains? An average plate. This is an information age. The phone is in your hand. You have the ready reckoner. But the most essential information we do not have, isn't it? We have time to post selfies. We have time to follow somebody on Instagram, or I am archaic, I should confess. I am not as updated as you. So you have to make some leeway for that, and gaps in my knowledge. But we take time for that. But the most essential information we do not take time. You know how many kilometers is the blood vessels in your system? Guesses? 20 what? 20 what? You have to give the unit. 20 kilometers. Yeah, it's a guess. There is a risk in a guess. 60,000 miles. 60,000 miles. You carry in yourself the distance of 60,000 miles. Don't you think you are fearfully and wonderfully made? Because it branches and branches and branches and branches and supplies every tiny cell. If one bit is not there, God has given an alternative of something called collateral system. See, your food supply is cut off here, it comes from there. Somebody gives up, but that needs time. If that time is not given, then the organs die. There are some things called end organs where the supply is not there. The tip of the nose, tip of the earlobes, your fingertips and toes. So when there is any, when you go into very cold weather or when the blood supply is cut off, these things go into something called necrosis where it dies. So that's how wonderful the system is. How many times does your heart beat in a day? Let me make it short. I won't ask you for your lifetime. It is mind boggling. 72 per minute. For an hour. Any math stalwarts? 100,000 times in a day. And 2,000 gallons are pumped. Mind you, these are not asking your permission to function. Isn't it? God has set in such a beautiful system that it doesn't wait for your permission. It is set in motion. You know, when the heartbeat starts, in the womb, when? How old were you when your heartbeat started? When we call it a fetus in the womb, it becomes little inanimate. But you were a fetus once, isn't it? Each of us have crossed through that stage. 5 to 6 weeks of conception, roughly. Our clotting system, as soon as you get a cut, immediately the very next second there is a system, clotting system and a bleeding system. So the clotting system immediately gets into play. It starts closing. If that system is not there, we see patients where that system has failed, they start bleeding all over and it's fatal. Then there is a bleeding system which again both are balanced so that blood is in a flowing state and not in a clotting state or in a bleeding state. The fine balance is maintained, continuously balance is maintained. Sometimes some of the food that we eat can derange this. That time also it tries to correct. All this not because we have ordered our system. It is because God has set in the system. Then there is an immune system. Our body is continuously fighting bacteria, viruses, and other parasites continuously. And our immune system is continuously fighting even cancer cells. Cancer cells keep forming inside our body, and our immune system continuously fights. So that's how wonderfully, this is only a bit of what it involves, just to give a glimpse on how wonderfully we are made. And today, Pastor asked me to speak on abortion. You know why? Recently, there has been much in the news. Are you following? Roe versus Wade. Roe actually is not a original name of the person. It's Jane Roe, but it's only a legal pseudonym. Her original name is some Norma. Long back, she fought with the US system that she may be allowed for an abortion. That was her third pregnancy. Before I go into it, I don't know if you all know about the process of conception. I want to briefly touch on it. How many of you are science students? Till 12th. Till 12th. Rest of you only till 10th. Okay, to briefly brush up your science knowledge, I don't know whether all this was covered in your 10th portions. Uh, when I was studying, not till 10th, only in 11th and 12th, a brief, most interesting. Chapter over. Okay. The sperm meets the egg. Yes. And you know where it joins? Where the sperm and the egg joins? Fallopian tube. There, I'm glad somebody has passed in that MCQ. So the zygote is formed in the fallopian tube, then it travels to the uterus and it gets embedded in the uterus, and for the next 12 months it grows and grows. It's actually these days videos are available. When I was studying embryology, there were some very nice foreign books available with beautiful illustrations, and Indian books were not up to the mark at that time. We were having those black and white, those dull colored pages only, but the foreign books used to be very colorful and with a good sheen and nice pictures. It's awesome how at each step, first it starts just multiplying into 2, then 4, and then 8, and then slowly they all start differentiating. One set of cells is given as heart muscle, and another is given as blood vessels, another is a neural tissue where the brain and the spinal cord is formed, another for muscles, another for bones, yeah, for skin, then for hair, so many things. Now, at every step, something can go wrong. And then, after reading embryology, I only felt, um, I only felt, how come I'm born with things supposedly intact? Because at every step, something can go wrong, and we do get lot of congenital disorders. Uh, that's a different topic. We will not go into that. But that's how amazing it is. And very fine differentiation with very specific um, functions. And everything again unified and in conjunction they work. So, the process of consumption, briefly, I have been very brief in that, is this. Now, how is it related to our topic today? Everything has a connect, isn't it? Our information, then what we have grown up with. There is something called information, but there is also a lot of misinformation. Do you agree? Yeah. So before going into that, I want to put few questions before you. You don't have to answer, but keep it with yourself for all time. Where does my value system come from? Where have I learnt? See, for a small example, stealing is wrong. Where did I get that? Did I hear my father and mother say? Or did my friends say? Or did social media say? Or did an advertisement or a billboard say? What has taught me? This is only an example. But then the whole gamut of value system, our attitudes and our beliefs, where do they come from? Or is it tradition? Tradition is very dangerous. We have to I won't say that it is good or bad, but we need to actively apply mind to traditions. So where does my learning come from? There is also continuous what we have up to now, but then there is an ongoing learning also happening. There is a continuous input. Do you agree? How long do you read the Bible in your quiet time, if you are having your quiet time? That is for the pastor to work on. How long? 10 minutes? Half an hour? 15 minutes? Yes. What percentage of it is in a waking day? Your waking day will be 18 hours, 20 hours? Not 20, 18 at least. Okay. In an 18-hour day, what is the percentage of that? Again, calculator or math whiz. Yeah. Now, each of you, to your conscience, answer how long you spend on social media. Oh, so that has done the homework also for you. How much time in conversation with your parents? Good. How much time with your friends? So, which influence will be most on your mind? And mind you, everything is sending a message. An idea is planting an idea. If you are aware, that's a big thing. Everything that we see, that we perceive, that we speak, or that we listen is planting an idea. Every print is planting an idea. It is influencing us somewhere, whether we know it or not. So, this is how our thought system, our value system, and our belief system gets into place. And we make our decisions based on that. And our behavior is also based on that. Our behavior, particularly when we are alone, not on performance, all that depends on what has gone in. So, what we need is a continuous process of unlearning and then learning. This is required. So, when it comes to this abortion thing, there are a lot of information and misinformation. So, currently, the US is fighting for, our neighbors are fighting for. They're not exactly our neighbors, but almost it has become like neighbors. Most of the India is there, urban India is there. What are they fighting for? You know the happenings, no? Recently, Roe versus Wade, what happened? Totally out of uh, what is happening now. Yes. So recently, the Supreme Court overruled the Roe versus Wade. Uh, what do you call it? Um, Case, or that's a word I did. Judgment. Uh, so they wanted autonomy. The women were asking for autonomy over their bodies, and they felt that the state was intervening, or it was intruding into their privacy. They wanted the abortion to be privatized and their own matter. You don't involve. You know the Indian law, up to when abortion is permitted? Broadly, first trimester, but then up to 24 weeks, which is 6 months. And most often, you know what they quote as for justifying not wanting the overturning in the US. Why are they fighting for? What are they fighting for? They want autonomy for what? Right to abort. Yes, right to abort. And you know, most often, what is the reason given? It's just a fetus, yes. Then, huh? Mistake. Yeah, it's a mistake. Yes. Yes. It may sound absurd, but these are what people are giving, and many may agree with that point of view also when you're reading that. Career. Yes. Then, yeah. Family. Family means which family? The girl's family may not accept. The boy's family may not accept. But they are married, no? Yeah, what are their excuses? After the child is born, supportive system. Yes. Then unable to provide for the child. Yes. Now this comes as an afterthought. What was the first step? If they were so keen that they didn't want a child, which is better? Protection is the next step. See, one reality, what we find when we go to these Western countries, no, very young women going around with prams and carrying a child, mostly abandoned. Very young, surprising that even in their 20s, early 20s, they are abandoned. Now, largely these are the people who are fighting for uh, independence in regulating their pregnancies. If then can you imagine the course of events? This is in general. Course of events: get into a relationship in teens, then get into physical relationship in teens, then half informed and half not informed and half tried to avoid and half not tried, and then end up with a pregnancy and then not knowing what to do. Some of them go to quacks, some of them try on their own. This is the reality. And botched up abortions. Now, because all these botched up abortions are very harmful for the mother, then they want to make it safe for the mother. That is one reason which is quoted. Another reason which is quoted is that financial security, emotional security. Now, when something is going to be such a compromise on finance or emotion or in their physical state, why get into it at all? Isn't it? So, what does man want in general? Though, when they are quoting, when they are fighting, what they are fighting is that what if it is a rape pregnancy? Then the woman suffers unnecessarily. But what is the percentage which happens with a rape? Uh, what is the percentage of rape pregnancy? And what is the percentage of conceptions with a consensual sex? We are showing something as an excuse to fight for, but something else is the reality. So, in general, man wants an unaccountable way of life, isn't it? I will do what I like. But God's system is made in such a way we don't have a choice in that. God is sovereign. For everything, there is a consequence. And the Bible is full of examples. Everything has a consequence. You sow, you reap what you sow. You sow, you just imagine practically, you're putting a lemon tree seed, lime seed or lemon seed. You expect mango, isn't it? And will you fight because if there is no mango in it? Isn't it? But in our deviousness, we want to keep on sowing something, but we want to reap something which we have picturized. We sow for something, it is going to reap accordingly. We do something, there is a consequence. Decisions we may take, they may be in control, in our control, but consequences are not in our control. We should keep this in mind. When does a person become sexually aware? When? 13. Okay. Some these days with the media available and a lot of the TV and advertisements and lot of information available, It is much earlier also. Even I think 10 years also. Yeah. And much earlier itself, the gender orientation comes uh, for children. It is a normal process. Now, when does a person get married? In our contemporary culture, late 20s, isn't it? See, when would you consider marriage? Generally, when you are financially independent, isn't it? And that's common sense. When you can manage your family. In general, there may be exceptions when they are still dependent and not earning, some of them get married. But on an average, 25. So from 13 or 10, the sexual awareness comes and the sexual feelings also start. But you're finally getting married when you are 25, 28, sometimes even 30, because there needs to be an uninterrupted studies and career and all that. Now, these sexual feelings or urges, are they normal or abnormal? Normal. Who made? God made. It is normal. It is a normal physiology. Then how are we to handle? I'll make a statement. A man or a woman can live life without sex. Actually, you don't need it for, just like how a person can live without sugar. It has no nutrients. You completely not take sugar, you can live life very well, healthily. We don't need it. So some things are there like that. You can live. But God, it is God who has incorporated this and who has given this, and He has meant sex to be a uh, pleasure giving experience, and also to reproduce. That was His first command, isn't it? So for procreation, having a godly generation is God's plan. So he has clubbed both. It is not exclusive. It is both giving a pleasure. There were medieval times when when it was used only as a procreative, towards only a procreation goal. But pleasure is also part of it. And Song of Solomon's is God authenticated. Um, his word authenticates that pleasure is part of it. That is the way God has meant it. But when God made anything, He made it with boundaries. God is not a killjoy. God is not out there that the minute you start wanting something or wishing something, He's there, top, He will put one on your head, and He's not like that. But He wants you to experience it well, not in a twisted and warped manner. He wants you to enjoy food. But then, if you are going to abuse your body through food, that is twisted. When the fall came, everything that God made, man started introducing perversion or a twist to it. Food is good, but a twist to it, it makes it harmful. Enjoying every good thing which God has given is good. But when we cross the boundaries, we invite trouble on ourselves. So, in everything, see, this is where we need the Spirit of God who dwells in us to guide us where we are crossing limits. When you're eating, when you're putting food in your plate, just count the calories and see if you're eating for one person or if you're eating for two persons. Isn't it injustice when half of the world or three-fourths of the world is starving? We indulge ourselves with more than what is needed. And it is not going to do us any good also. Now, obesity has become a pandemic. Universally, it is there because we eat the wrong things. We have learned to make things also like that. So, everything has got a twist in it. And to identify the twist, we need His grace, we need His wisdom, and we need the clarity that God gives. We need the common sense that God gives. God has given good things. But the good thing becoming bad for us is because of this twist. And we need to be smart enough to identify this. We can claim, I'm dumb, I'm not that smart. Isn't it? How many of us can claim that we are smart? But is there a provision for smartness, the real smartness? Is there a provision at all? Is there a provision for smartness? Have you heard the word simpleton? Where? Have you heard the word simpleton? Or the simple? Huh? Yeah. But in the Bible, where does it come? Simpleton. Very frequently it is used. Proverbs. Proverbs. Multiple places. You read Proverbs. Multiple places simpleton is used. You know what it means? Naive, ignorant, foolish, stupid, all that. Actually, the word simpleton is used with the connotation of a not desired status. And none of us as Christians need to be simpletons. Because God says you can have wisdom. Wisdom waits at the corners, crying out, I'll come to you. You invite me, I will come to you. It is there for the asking. And if we are not asking for this wisdom on a day to day basis, on a moment by moment basis, which is there for just the asking, then whose fault is it? Isn't it? It is there. The banquet is ready. Call everybody. But not everybody wants to come. When we are reading the word, we will think, oh, how foolish they are. When the king is calling, they are refusing. But what are we doing? So, to have common sense is a gift of God. The devil is out there to steal and to destroy. But how does he present himself? How does he present himself? To Eve. Let us go to Eve. How did he present himself? Did he come with two fangs and with all his gory features? Or did he give a glimpse on how they will fall from God's presence and how they will invite uh, the mark on the whole humanity and how it will require the pure blood of the Son? Did he present all that? See, Eve, I am going to tempt you. I will, this is what is going to happen. You yield, you eat the fruit. This is what is going to happen. And God will definitely know about it. And you will be thrown out of the garden. And you're going to have a difficult life. Did he tell that? No, what did he tell? What did he tell? He came with a very, very nice promise, isn't it? He gave them a very, yeah, you will become like God. But then the devil is a liar. Today, the same thing happens. You do it. If it feels good, you do it, is the mantra. The billboards look very nice. How do you find a couple, happy couple in love? How do you find? They holding hands in Maldives, isn't it? I told you, no, everything sells an idea. What is the idea you get? That two people in love are going to be in Maldives, having a whale of a time. That is the picture it gives, isn't it? Just now dissect the picture. Can we afford to go to Maldives? Even if we afford, so much homework you need to do for a B&B, then which island to go for a good sea view, um, sea facing apartment or a resort, how much it costs, how much your pocket is going to get empty. And between two people who are spending, we see a picture and we get carried away, isn't it? And life na ipdidan. It looks very nice. And this is how people post on Insta and isn't it? We see what is not real. We fall for it. We buy it. We try to emulate and we run after it. But the devil is there to see, to steal and to destroy. And this is how he presents. He doesn't present the consequence. I need the experience of sex. And now it feels good. Why not? Anyway, we'll be married. These are the excuses. Nobody is going to know. I can get away with it. What can I do? Only he wanted, or only she wanted, or how to secure the relationship. If I yield, this relationship will be sealed. These are the arguments. These are what we tell ourselves. What does the word say about fornication? Fornication is sex before marriage. What does the word say? You go and do your homework. When God is warning about something, it is something. He wants to save each one of us from that heartache. A man is visual. I'm not here to argue what women should wear or not wear, but you sense. Are you not the temple of the living God? I'm not saying everybody should wear a sari like me, or I'm not saying anything. Each one of us is answerable before God with what attitudes we carry ourselves. Like there are all kinds of fights now. Oh, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? I have freedom. Everything is good, but is everything beneficial? Do I use God given liberty to put myself to risk, to put myself in the path of heartache? Why? So much heartache. The real things are worth waiting for. The experience of sex is worth waiting for. It is, it's very good within the sanctity of marriage, within the boundary of marriage. There only it secures the relationship also. Generally, what happens, are you all aware of this Amnon and Tamar story? Amnon and Tamar? Heard or not? Where does it come? Amnon and Tamar. So, pastor was telling there is going to be a rock school. I don't know what it is, but I assume it is going to be, yeah. So, you will get to. Women think that through sex they can secure the relationship. It doesn't happen that way. The minute a man has experienced a woman, he develops a, a despising attitude towards the woman. He loses respect, he loses interest. And this is generally what happens. And he would like to go to the next. Whereas the woman who was under the impression that she can secure the relationship and who yielded, thinking that he will be tied to her, is left in the lurch. This is the practical reality which happens. Whereas within the sanctity of marriage, they each promise each other that they are going to be accountable to each other. You know, when marital loyalty starts, marital loyalty. Marital loyalty starts way before marriage. You keep yourself pure for the person you're going to marry. It's not one sided. People get into marriage and they say the other person is not doing something, the person is not loyal. But what about yourself? Marital loyalty starts way before marriage. You preserve yourself and keep yourself pure for a good enjoyment of everything in the relationship. Imagine somebody is in a relationship, whatever level they go to, even emotional, and you're not marrying that person. How do you feel? Whatever Western context, however common it may seem, I read of a recent account. A woman was in a relationship with somebody earlier and she got physical also. And she blurted out everything to her husband, to whom she was currently married. This is in the Western context. He was unable to take it. That is the practical reality of it because God has put that jealousy in the heart of man. It's difficult to take. Why these passion murders happen? It's not easy to get away. So, when you're not sure whom you're going to marry, how can each one promise themselves to various degrees to the person? Should you not be uh, careful? God is not a killjoy. God has kept marriage and sex and all that, and the companionship, everything to be enjoyed in marriage. It requires just to wait. And for that, He has even given the provision. There is something called self control. It is a fruit of the Spirit. It is given. When we have a thriving relationship with God, self control is a byproduct. Enjoy now, pay later. This happens in life also. See, when I can't wait, I have to enjoy now. But then a lifelong of regret. Whereas, wait for God given time, God given wisdom, God given choices, and enjoy. Which is better? Otherwise, so much confusion. Somebody I know was into a, I don't know, she had a lot of baggage. She felt she was not beautiful and nobody would like her. So she was getting into relationships and yielding herself also physically with no commitment from both sides because she made that pact with the other person. So they would meet in some hotel and uh, they would get together. And then when the time came for her for marriage, she just broke off. But in marriage, she couldn't live peacefully. She couldn't have a normal physical relationship with the husband. It was hell for herself and for the husband also. And all of her own problems she was projecting on the husband. He was innocent. So we think we may fool God. You know that verse? To the devious, he shows himself. Read that verse. It's in Psalm and in Samuel. I didn't note, I think. Psalm 18:26. Someone read aloud. To the pure, you show yourself pure. To the crooked, you show yourself shrewd. So God is shrewd. We cannot fool him. 2 Samuel 22:27. 2 Samuel 22, 27. 22nd chapter, 27th verse. To the pure, you show yourself pure. To the crooked, you show yourself. So, God is the discerner of our hearts. We may say many things. God is not carried away by any of our shows. We may declare many things. We may show ourselves as very pious. We may do all the rituals of what it needs to appear as a nice person, good person, Christian person, whatever. But what is our inner life? That is going to matter. And there is no getting away. He shows himself shrewd. So, in all this, he has a blueprint. Ask God at every point of time, Lord, how do you want me to go about? Men are visual, I said. So, when they see a woman, there is a response in the body for them, there is a response in their mind. They are visual. Women are emotional. You do something nice, the woman falls for it. That is the reason boys generally try to keep a fat purse, isn't it? Take them to restaurants, buy some gifts, isn't it? And the other gender stands before the mirror for a long time and going on looking at the wardrobe and wardrobe full of clothes, and yet I have no dresses. Nothing is enough, isn't it? So that's how the investment also takes place. Investment for a relationship takes place. So be aware. What I'm doing is just be aware of these things. And what God wants is that you have a safe life, a happy life. God does not want you to. It is only the devil which comes to steal and to destroy. And he is going to present very attractive things. Oh, it feels good. Do it. Go for it. The whole world is doing it. Your friends are doing it. Why you want to be the odd one? Why you want to be laughed at? Why you want to be old fashioned? Why you want to lose out? This is how he sows the seed. God has no need to lure us. And what does God lose? I am not obeying and I go my way. What does God lose? We behave as if we are doing a favor. Sometimes when we obey, we think we are doing a favor. No, He's in no way indebted to us. He chooses to love us. But I'm not doing a favor when I obey Him. And in fact, all His commands, when we follow, it benefits us. So don't be a temptation to the other person through whichever tactic. Don't give leads. Sometimes people give leads. They'll behave in every way as if they are in love. But then finally, when the question is posed, they say, oh no, I am just a friend. It happens, isn't it? Don't give that kind of an impression. Preserve yourself. Preserve yourself for marriage. The gift, the gift of that relationship, of companionship, of physical relationship, everything is very beautiful when you wait for God's time, when you unwrap it in God's time. It needs self control, it needs wisdom, it needs common sense. And all these are gifts from God. It needs godly wisdom, the wisdom that comes from above, not the wisdom that is prevalent, because the world says something else. Enjoy now, pay later. You really pay later. There is a healthy curiosity. How many of us are curious about what God's word says? We are curious over many things. And that's where the Google also comes in and satisfies our curiosity. And sometimes this sex is taken as a matter of curiosity also. Somebody known to me was afraid whether he would be able to perform well in marriage. So he went to a prostitute. All these have an impact on marital relationship. Definitely. Because God calls for the marriage bed to be pure. keep it undefiled. And there is a blessing that goes with it. God honors. God honors a heart that seeks Him sincerely, that seeks to obey sincerely. If we are devious, He shows Himself shrewd. But in, in plainness, genuinely, we seek His ways, He honors that. So there is a consequence for everything. And there are many ways in which we ourselves play games. We play games on ourselves, we play games on the other gender, but be safe. And when it comes for the time to choose, ask God. We do not know till the end of life how it is going to be, what we are suited for. All this we do not know, but God knows. Because lot of our learning, our traditions, and our what how we have fooled ourselves with a false value system, everything comes into play in all these choices. There is something called selfish desire. Paul addresses it in many places. Selfish desire. So that means, what does it mean when something is called as selfish desire? There is also a there is also a unselfish desire. There is also a righteous desire. So selfish desire only serves itself, and it will utilize. It is like a leech. It will suck from the other person. Whereas a righteous desire tries to keep the other person also safe, safe from my own mental games, my own onslaughts, my own temptation attempts. All these. You, if it is a righteous desire, we will not attempt, isn't it? And one more reason for premarital sex is adventure. A girl is running after me, gives a sense of um, achievement. A boy is after me, gives a sense of, it definitely gives a good feel. But the path is risky. Then should we not talk? Should we not be friends? Yes, be friends. But be accountable to God. And these decisions are made well ahead. There is circumstantial pressure. You know the story of Joseph? Joseph of Old Testament. There was a circumstantial pressure on him. You know what? What? Huh? Potiphar's wife. It was a situational pressure or a circumstantial pressure. Tamar also had a circumstantial pressure. But one yielded and lost. There was a string of murders after that in Amnon and Tamar's story. Whereas in Joseph's case, it seemed like he lost for a time. But then God honored him for that. And these decisions were made well ahead. These decisions are made when you are sitting in the presence of God, in your quiet time, in your quiet moments, when you are pondering, when you are taking time for yourself, when you allow God's common sense to direct you. Those are the times in quietness you make a decision well ahead how you are going to cross these years. It is not at that time. You go to a party and somebody is giving you a drink. It may look a circumstantial pressure. What are you going to do? These days we hear about this date rape and these drugs and things like that. Once when we went to this Mahabalipuram beach, our children were much smaller and they were playing. We gave them both uh, one instruction: they should not get wet. Our son played very close to the waves. Our daughter was well uh, on the shore. Who is likely to get wet? Why? This is how we go about. My son's intention was not to get wet. He was trying to obey, but he put himself in the path of getting wet. We put ourselves in the path of risk. And then we say, oh, the circumstance, the situation, the pressure, and what could I do? I had no choice. These don't come suddenly. These decisions are made well ahead. Because Joseph had made the decision well ahead, he was able to, he knew the risk also. Potiphar is his employer, and there is a risk. She may lie, she may do anything to him. He knew all that, but he was willing to take the risk because the decision was made well ahead. There is a price to pay always. Which side are we willing to pay the price? There is a price. Wait is a price. Regret is also a price. Which side we would like to? We make choices, but consequences we are not in control of. And the reasons for premarital sex is uncontrolled, unchecked emotions and desires, selfish desires, to secure a relationship, for a sense of adventure, for experimentation, for curiosity, out of a fear, all this. But the consequences, well known consequences, are unplanned pregnancies, which puts the person into a real soup. It puts both of them into a soup, and the general picture is the boy will be coercing the girl to get an abortion, and it will be in secret and whatever, which makes it very unsafe. This is where they want to make it safe. See, instead of advocating much safer and God ordained method, all shortcuts, then the vulnerabilities of the people involved also increases after and out of marriage sex. Both are vulnerable. It is not just the girl. We think girl is only vulnerable. It is very hard to get out of a relationship. Very difficult when emotions are involved. So actually best is to not to get emotionally entangled with anybody till marriage. That is the best. To enjoy after marriage. It's just a matter of waiting. Not wait, get into a whole lot of problems and heartaches and heartbreaks. And somebody asked some time back for their, I think, 12th standard child, because she was just coming out of a heartbreak. What is the need? Time is wasted, your body is exposed to so much stress and a whole lot of emotions and uncertainties. Why subject ourselves to that kind of an abuse? It is an abuse to ourselves. And there are enough things to keep us occupied, isn't it? Your studies, then your plans for career, then there may be other pressures from the family. So many things are there. Why subject each one of us to unnecessary adventures? Prevention is always better. For health also, prevention is always better. Put everything that you find on every eatery or everything on the table, and then we reap after some time. We are finding a lot of health related issues. I think a few months back we had a 23-year-old boy with a heart attack. It's not unusual. And another 23 to 25-year-old boy with a stroke. These are not unusual. We can't think we are immune. Our body is the temple of the living God. So when it comes to abortion, there are uh, what is it? Abortions at various stages, and our law says that up to 6 months. But then we saw how fearfully and wonderfully we are made. Children are a gift of God, isn't it? The word says that children are a gift of God. Now, this planned parenthood is much in the vogue. It's not wrong to plan when to have children, all that. But be guided. Be guided in everything. And, you know, in abortion, there is a there is a place where if it is the mother's, if it is harmful to the mother, that she may die in the course of pregnancy, it is medically indicated. But an optional or elective abortion is always, it's a life. See, in Mars, people are thrilled that in Mars one bacteria was found, a single cell bacteria. They call it life. They say there is life on Mars, but a fetus for whom there is a heartbeat. They say it is not life. It is a thing, it is a vegetable. But you and me were a fetus at some point. It's a life. And now we, who are the light and who are the salt. I read a nice analogy recently from WhatsApp University. Uh, it's a WhatsApp University is what fake. It's a production manufacturing unit of all fake news. So we can't take it all. But then this analogy was good. For a bowl of curry, how much salt do you put? A bowl of salt? How much do you put? A pinch, isn't it? So when we are the salt, we are the minority. In a world full of a barrage of information, misinformation, temptations, everything, we are called to be the salt and light. In a dark room, even a tiny candle just fills the whole room. A little yeast is enough for the whole dough. A little salt is enough to give flavor to the whole bowl. So we will be a minority. Ours will be lone voices. Our lives will be lone performances on the world's stage. We will be ridiculed at. We will be laughed at. They will say that you are losing. You may lose the bus or you may miss the bus. Come on, do. Everybody is doing. Don't be out of fashion. All these will be the cries from the world. But the word says, do not conform to the world. That's a call. And the one who stands with us, in us, before us, and behind us, and as the vanguard and the rear guard is the God. The God who is sovereign, who makes nations rise and nations fall. That powerful he is. Still, they are going on finding out new galaxies. You saw, no, recently the NASA has released a picture. You know what they captured? The size of the galaxy that they captured? It is the size of a rice which you hold at arm's length. That bit of galaxy they were able to find with so many new things. And still it is endless. That is the God who regulates each cell of yours. He is ordering your gut to somehow adjust, even if you put anything in the stomach. He is the one who is ordering the heart to pump, the brain to function. We are intricately made right from the womb. And he says that even before you were born, I knew you. When we are being made in the depths of darkness, his eye is on me. That is the value which is placed. And that is the life the world is fighting to vanquish. You know, millions of babies are killed. Don't they have a right? Just because they are voiceless, isn't it? A child in the womb is voiceless. But he calls us to be the voice of the voiceless. We are called to protect the rights of the voiceless. Whereas the one to whom this privilege is given wants to abdicate that privilege, wants to destroy. We are caretakers. Conception is of the Lord. It is the Lord who orders the conception. We see various places in the Bible. It is of the Lord. When Hannah prayed, God opened her womb. For Rebecca, he opened the womb. So it is God who gives the conception. We are caretakers. And what kind of stewards are we? And this is not a simple thing, it's a complex matter. It's a relationship. Two people are involved, many emotions are involved, many relationships are involved. And in everything, at every step, we are called to be stewards.